Tonight on Texas News Primetime, earthquake in Syria and Turkey kills over 3,800.
UT discontinues its athletic training program.
And Travis County files for a disaster declaration following the ice storm.
You're watching Texas News Primetime.
News made for Longhorns. Good evening, and welcome to Texas News Primetime. For Monday, February 6th, I'm Hope Vanderberg.
And I'm Ariba Barmel. Thank you for joining us tonight. At least 4,300 people have been reported dead as of today after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit Syria and Turkey early Monday morning. Majority of the damage occurred in Aleppo and Tartus, both of which are in northwest Syria. Rescue efforts are already underway, with more than 78,000 people having already been rescued, according to state-run media. President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has declared 7 days of mourning and is coordinating efforts with other countries to bring aid to citizens within both Turkey and Syria.
For Primetime on campus, 6 professors from the College of Natural Sciences, the Cockrell School of Engineering, and the School of Information have been elected Fellows of the American Association for the Advancement of Sciences, the world's largest general scientific society. Scott Aronson, Valerie Boguca, Catherine Calder, Diana Marculescu, Pengu Ren, and Claus Wilk join the ranks of more than 49 colleagues at the university who have earned this lifetime distinction. Widely regarded as one of the top athletic training programs in the country, UT's athletic training major will be discontinued come 2025. With national mandates for schools to add a graduate athletic training degree, the university is putting an end to its offering for various reasons, including the financial implications of developing a graduate program and hiring faculty members. Students who have entered the program in fall of 2022 will need to re-enroll in a graduate program at another school to be eligible to sit on the Board of Certification exam. Graduating seniors with at least 75 completed credit hours and graduate students with at least 16 credit hours can now order their class rings. From now until the 10th of February, eligible students can stop by the Alumni Center for ring sizing and selection. Orders must be placed this week to be included in the tower dedication on April 13th, and rings will be available for pickup at the ring celebration on April 14th.
For Primetime locally, a collision was narrowly avoided Saturday morning at the Austin-Bergstrom International Airport. A FedEx plane was cleared to land on a runway as a Southwest Airlines plane was cleared to depart on the same runway. The pilot of the FedEx plane was able to initiate a climb-up, allowing the Southwest plane to depart safely. Both the FAA and National Transportation Safety Board are investigating the incident. Ice storms throughout the week have warranted Travis County officials to file a disaster declaration. The declaration opens the way for aid from FEMA as well as state departments. The assistance will curb the costs of debris removal and damage to public facilities. After funding has opened up, residents can apply for funds and request assistance with any issues stemming from the storms. As of this morning, 25,000 customers of Austin Energy are still without power, and the company is now saying they're expecting most customers to have power restored by February 12th. Austin City Manager Spencer Cronk could be facing termination in a city council meeting Thursday due to his performance in relation to the storm. An auto pedestrian crash Saturday afternoon has left a child dead and one adult with serious injuries. The crash took place on North Meadows Drive in North Austin. The child was pronounced dead on the scene, with the adult being transported to the Del Seaton Medical Center. No further updates have been given.
In Texas news, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has issued a disaster declaration for the ice storm that hit Texas this past week. This emergency declaration covers 7 counties, including Travis, while more counties could be added after further damage assessments are performed. Declaring disaster will allow the state to guide local authorities and allocate resources in damage reparation, debris cleanup, and power outages caused by the storm. A Texas inmate has been executed by lethal injection for the 2007 fatal shooting of a Dallas police officer. Wesley Ruiz fired one fatal shot at Officer Mark Nix after leading police on a high-speed chase. The U.S. Supreme Court denied an appeal to halt the execution. Ruiz's attorneys argued juror racial bias in sentencing Ruiz to death. A similar appeal was denied in the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. Ruiz testified that he fired in self-defense after Nix threatened to kill him and believes the officers fired first. Ruiz was the second inmate executed in Texas and the fourth in the U.S. so far this year. An unusual string of crimes have occurred at the Dallas Zoo over the past few weeks. A clouded leopard was reported missing from its habitat, a breach was discovered in the Langer monkey enclosure, an endangered vulture was found dead with an abnormal wound, and 2 tamarin monkeys were stolen. 24-year-old Davion Irvin was arrested in connection to 3 of these happenings and charged with burglary and cruelty to animals. The Dallas Zoo is expected to roll out serious security improvements after these incidents. Both the leopard and monkeys were found with no injuries.
For Primetime Nation, last Thursday, Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee in a party-line vote. The Minnesota representative has previously been condemned by her party's leadership in 2019 after tweets she made criticizing the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee were widely perceived as anti-Semitic. According to The Guardian, fellow Democrats have condemned Omar's removal as racist and Islamophobic. New York Congressman George Santos faces continuing calls for his resignation following sexual misconduct allegations made by a prospective staffer on Twitter. This comes after a poll conducted by the Siena College Research Institute found 78% of Santos's constituents in New York's 3rd District think he should resign, with only 13% saying he should stay in office. This is a developing story, and we will continue to keep you updated as it continues. Republican Congresswoman Victoria Spartz announced she will not seek re-election and will retire once her term ends in 2025. The Indiana Congresswoman, who was first elected in 2020, was speculated as a potential candidate for the Indiana Senate seat, which is currently held by Republican Senator Mike Braun. Spartz said she plans to spend more time with her family, such as her 2 children, upon her retirement.
For Primetime World, the U.S. shot down a Chinese spy balloon on Saturday off the coast of the Carolinas. The balloon first crossed over the Canadian-Montana border and then spent a week drifting south. The entry of the balloon to the U.S. occurred days before Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken's planned trip to China, which has now been postponed. Beijing claims the object was used mainly for weather research and strayed far off course. 2 months after the European Union banned most crude oil from Russia, the embargo was expanded to Sunday to Russian supplies of diesel and gasoline. According to the New York Times, the coming ban on Russian exports of refined oil products could strain energy markets and crimp Russia's output, which can affect how the country finances its war in Ukraine. More than 150 wildfires burned across Chile over the weekend, leaving 13 people dead and thousands of acres of forest destroyed. The country is facing a scorching heat wave, and the government has declared states of catastrophe in the Biobío region. President Gabriel Boric says the full force of the state will be deployed to fight the fires and accompany all victims. Coming up on Texas News Primetime, we have Kevin Myers bringing us up to date on the world of business and Angela Santos bringing us STEM news after the break.
This News Primetime. Here to talk all things business, we have Kevin Myers. How are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Talk to us about business.
Yeah, so first off, last year consumer spending fell by 0.2% in the months of November and December. The unclogging of supply chains around the world allowed for falling prices in gas, clothes, and other commodities, which has been encouraging consumers to spend more, easing the effects of inflation. Despite this, economists are still wary of a recession hitting the U.S. as many finance and tech companies continue to lay off in an effort to thwart the rise of rapid inflation. The Reserve also plans to introduce more hikes in interest rates within the coming months. Despite improvements within the economy, economists are saying that the Fed will continue to keep interest rates high for longer, even if it comes at the expense of gains in wages and employment, with Chief Economist Gregory Dacko stating, quote, "We expect Fed Chair Powell will insist on the need to hold policy at a restrictive level for some time to bring inflation down to the 2% target," end quote. And lastly, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg praised Biden this week for his work in revitalizing the American economy. Buttigieg stated, quote, "What we're seeing is extraordinary, record job creation. As the president pointed out, more created in 2 years of his watch than 4 years of any other president's watch. The Biden administration reportedly showed 517,000 jobs added in January alone, and an unemployment rate of just 3.4%, the lowest it's been since 1969. However, a joint ABC News and Washington Post poll showed that 41% of Americans were not as well off financially as they were when Biden took office, with nearly a third of registered Democratic voters wanting him not to be renominated for the 2024 election.
Thank you for being on with us, Kevin. It's always a pleasure to have you. And here with us to talk about STEM, we have Angela Santos. How are you doing today, Angie?
Good, thank you so much for having me here, Reba. So in news right now regarding STEM, an Arctic blast could possibly cause a winter weather occurrence. Frostquakes are caused by a sudden drop in temperature. Cold air freezes the water on a saturated ground that then causes an expansion and then pressure to build up. This results in soil and rocks cracking, which can cause a booming sound and minor shaking. While this is more likely to affect Canada and the northern U.S. states, frostquakes have been reported in recent years farther south. A 2016 study revealed that there is a climate connection to frostquakes, and they could become frequent in warmer climates. This is due to winter being the fastest warming season. The ground remains thawed for longer with a higher prevalence of liquid water in the soil. The sudden Arctic air then resulting in frostquakes. Now, in pharmaceutical news, it's been 5 months since the FDA announced a national shortage of Adderall. This has also affected other ADHD medications such as Ritalin and Vyvanse, which have been on backorder for months. This shortage has been largely blamed on the unexpected rise in demand that was unforeseen by drug companies and government agencies. Stimulant prescriptions for adults rose by 15.1% in 2020 compared to 7.4% in 2019 due to increase in ADHD diagnosis during the pandemic. Companies such as Alvogen predict the shortage to end mid-April. However, some addiction experts are on high alert as some might turn to a different drug supply, as deaths from counterfeit-laced Adderall have already been reported. Another ongoing pharmaceutical shortage is Ozempic. Ozempic is used to improve blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. Aside from global supply issues, this drug has risen in demand not because of higher number of patients with diabetes, but its weight loss benefits. Many patients with diabetes have had to switch to different medications if unable to find the drug at pharmacies, while others have been forced to take it at a lower dose. A spokesman for Novo Nordisk, the company that manufactures Ozempic, has said that the drug is still available in certain dosages, and the shortage is expected to last throughout the month.
Thank you so much for being on with us, Angie. And from all of us here at Texas News Primetime, we want to wish you a very happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Coming up on Texas News Primetime, we will be bringing you up to date on all things sports with Alec Alvarez.
Our special segment of Press Box on Prime Time. Here to talk all things sports, we have Alec Alvarez. Thanks for coming on tonight, Alec. Tell us what's happening in the NBA and UFC.
Well, thank you for having me, Hope. It's a pleasure to be here. So this Sunday, ESPN reporter Adrian Wojnarowski dropped one of the biggest Woj bombs and blockbuster NBA trades in recent memory, with Brooklyn Nets guard Kyrie Irving being traded to the Dallas Mavericks. After a tumultuous past few seasons with the Nets, in which Kyrie Irving received significant public backlash from political comments, conflicts with ownership, team management, coaches, even fellow teammates, the Dallas Mavericks still elected to take a chance on Kyrie Irving and traded guard Spencer Dinwiddie, wing Dorian Finney-Smith, and several other draft picks to Brooklyn in return for Irving and Markieff Morris. The Nets turned down multiple offers from several other perennial contenders in the league, such as the Clippers, the Suns, the Lakers, all of which offered draft picks and star players, with the Suns going as far as even offering up Hall of Fame bound point guard Chris Paul, and the Lakers offering up their own Hall of Fame bound point guard and former MVP in Russell Westbrook. Despite Irving making it known that his preferred destination was with the LA Lakers, Nets GM Joe Tsai made it a priority to not trade him to LA. As for the Mavericks, Kyrie Irving is set to be a free agent this summer, so the overall return on investment of this deal depends on Dallas' ability to sign Irving to an extension. Only time will tell if this risky trade is set to pay off in the long run for Dallas, but for this moment, this deal puts two of the league's best players together on the same team in Luka and Kyrie, and unequivocally makes them the best backcourt in the NBA, bar none. In other news, the UFC announced that former two-division champ and infamous UFC legend Conor McGregor will make his long-awaited return to the octagon this year. Conor and Michael Chandler were named coaches of the Ultimate Fighter series, and after coaching against each other throughout the entirety of the season of the show, they'll finish it all off in the octagon at season's end. McGregor hasn't fought since he broke his leg in a fight against Dustin Poirier back in July of 2021, and Michael Chandler has had an incredibly storied MMA career in his own right, having beaten legends like Tony Ferguson via emphatic knockouts in historic, unprecedented fashion, right? However, he, just like McGregor, most recently faced and lost to Dustin Poirier in his last fight. This leads us to the most anticipated Ultimate Fighter series of all time, along with the most anticipated UFC card of the year, with McGregor and Chandler leading the way.
Well, this was a big week for sports news. Going back to the NBA, how big is the Kyrie trade, not only for the Mavs this season, but for their future as a team?
Hope, that's a great question. The Kyrie trade sent shockwaves through the NBA for a multitude of reasons from multiple lenses and perspectives. So let's start with the perspective of the Mavericks, right? You have a young generational superstar in Luka Doncic, right? And he wants to win now, and you saw a little bit of growing impatience with the current roster and their current record. So the Mavericks want to keep their generational superstar happy, down from Mark Cuban in ownership all the way to Jason Kidd. They're doing everything they can. So they were very hungry in this trade season, hungry to make a move, and they made one in landing Kyrie Irving. Part of this as well from other perspectives is like the Lakers, right? You know, the West is pretty wide open from the 2nd seed to the 5th seed and the 5th seed to the 12th seed, right? So the Mavs are in the 5th seed, the Lakers are teetering on the 12th and 13th seed, right? So they knew the Mavs knew if they didn't make a move for Kyrie, maybe the Lakers would have made a move for Kyrie. And we've seen what Bron and Kyrie have done before. Maybe the Lakers jump the Mavs in the standings and make a farther run in the playoffs. So I think the Mavs made a move. They had to, and unfortunately for, you know, the likes of LeBron's Lakers, you know, they didn't get to make the move. So.
Yeah. And now going back to the UFC, with the announcement of McGregor coming back for his first fight since 2021, it's already generating so much hype. So what do you think this says about McGregor's legacy and what he's done for the UFC as a whole?
Absolutely. Another great question and a great transition here from the NBA. So let me preface what I'm about to say by saying this. So the NBA is a league where you're seeing new trends of fandom in the youth, right? So you're seeing fans become supporters more of players than of teams, right? Where back in the days, like I grew up in Dallas, I'm going to root for the Mavericks, right? Well, nowadays it's more like I follow LeBron on social media. I follow LeBron wherever he goes. If he's on the Lakers, I root for the Lakers. If he's on the Cavs, for the Cavs, or the Heat, for the Heat, right? So McGregor kind of epitomizes this new age tradition of following players and individual athletes as opposed to teams, right? So in a sport like UFC, where it's not a team sport like basketball, football, soccer, it's one-on-one, McGregor shines light on how like individual athletes and superstars can really drive influence and impact. So before McGregor hopped onto the scene, the UFC was nowhere near where it is now. Without McGregor, the UFC wouldn't be anywhere where it is now. And likewise for McGregor, you know, going from from a plumber in Ireland all the way to becoming the international superstar that he is today. It is an inspiring story, and that's already his legacy. But I think now it's like the UFC knows he's just dynamite when it comes to marketing and, you know, talking trash and being able to put out viral social media clips. So that's what the Ultimate Fighter series is about. You can expect a lot of social media clips coming out of him and Chandler talking mess to each other while they're coaching, and then leading up to the fight at the end of the year, which is going to be hopefully dynamite, because we haven't seen McGregor fight in almost 2 years, actually 2.5, almost 3 years. So it'll be exciting. I'm very excited for the sporting events coming up to close out the year.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for coming on, Alec. Coming up on Texas News Primetime, Julia Mia will be bringing us up to date on all things entertainment.
This News Primetime. Here to talk all things entertainment, we have Julia Mia. How are you doing today, Julia?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Talk to us about all things entertainment.
So last night, the 2023 Grammys results came out yesterday with Harry Styles winning Album of the Year. Harry Styles beat Beyonce and Bad Bunny's nomination, causing a lot of discourse on social media. Many people claim that the other two artists should have won. Beyonce did recover, though. She converted 4 of her 9 nominations into victories, making her the record winner for most wins by any artist in Grammy history. Gotta love Beyonce.
Gotta love Beyonce, of course. And I can understand why people are upset about how things turned out last night.
For sure. You know, I'll always have a soft spot for Harry Styles. I, for one, went to the Midnight Memories tour back when I was a teenager, and it altered my brain chemistry for life.
I might be a little jealous of you for that.
So, yes, I will always have a soft spot for that, but I understand the discourse around it. You know, Beyonce and Bad Bunny have dedicated their platforms to doing a lot of social change as well as artistry, so I can understand why people wanted more focus on that. Up next, going on the topic of artists, the Senate is holding a hearing over Ticketmaster's Taylor Swift's Eras Tour fiasco. Ticketmaster is being called out for being a monopoly. The company's website crashed when fans were trying to buy tickets. The company oversold pre-sale and prioritized resellers, kicking normal people out of line. Many politicians took to Twitter calling out Ticketmaster and calling out monopolies. Did you happen to get tickets for this tour?
I did not get tickets for the Eras Tour as much as I wanted to, but I did know a lot of people who were in that line for a very long time trying to get those tickets.
Oh wow, it must just be so frustrating to get pre-sale and put all your money down on something like that and then not even be able to stay in line for something.
For sure. As a Swiftie, I can definitely empathize with those people.
Swifties everywhere are hurting. And then just to wrap up entertainment, Dr. Phil show is ending after 21 years. Oprah's protege is finally stepping down. You know, I was really interested about this reaction on TikTok. A lot of people were pro Dr. Phil. A lot of people were kind of over Dr. Phil's whole spiel and tough love thing that he has going on. And some people are kind of talking about how maybe it's not right to air really traumatic stories and stories of therapy for the public. But, you know, I grew up with Dr. Phil. My mom loves him. And I remember just, you know, being really sick and waking up in the middle of the night and seeing Dr. Phil playing on the TV or something. So it'd be sad to watch him go, but definitely excited to see what takes his place.
Well, thank you for coming on, Julia. And as always, you can follow Texas News Primetime and TSTV News on social media just by searching. Also, take us with you on the go by subscribing to our podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. From all of us here at TSTV News, thank you for starting your week with us this evening. Now go out and change your world.